Hello, and thank you for joining us again on these AutoTalk live lockdown broadcasts that we're doing. When I say broadcast, you are watching this recorded. We're recording them live. They are pretty much off the cuff, and we just think they're a great way to get some cool, relevant information out to you while you're sitting at home, probably watching this in your dressing robe with the kids running around, still trying to run a business and sell some cars. So our guest today is pretty well known to readers of AutoTalk magazine. He's had a column with us for many, many years now, and he is very much an expert in the lead management area through his work at AutoPlay. So I'm going to bring into the room now Matt Darby. Matt, thanks for joining us.
G'day, Richard. How's it going?
Great. How's lockdown going for you so far?
Yeah, not too bad. Just plugging away, keeping things, getting stuff done, as we like to say.
Now, I hope you haven't been a visitor to one of these massive list of places now that have been exposed to COVID.
Not so far. There's about 300 of them, so good luck keeping up with it.
Yeah. I guess people should be checking those. Luckily, I don't think I've seen a car dealership on the list yet, but perhaps it's only a matter of time. Who knows?
Yep.
So today we are talking about lead management, which of course is at the core of the AutoPlay system. I guess that's probably a good way to say it, to pitch it. At the moment we have a whole fleet of salespeople, a whole fleet of staff sitting at home. They can't go and move cars around. They can't get out there and sell. What are they going to do? And the obvious thing, I guess, is to talk to customers. I think that's something you would think that staff should be looking at doing at the moment, Matt?
Correct. I mean, I think there's a really an opportunity to make hay while the sun shines, and time is a luxury that many car dealers and their teams don't necessarily have. So now's the perfect opportunity to tidy up some of your old leads and sort of mine that database a little bit.
Now, first off, and this is a very practical point that I think we'll touch on before we get too far into it, is that how should you be giving staff access to this data at home? And is there anything you need to be careful with letting staff work on essentially client data from their living room or from their dining table?
Yeah, 100%. So AutoPlay is a web application, so you can use that application from your phone or your tablet or your laptop, which is perfect for situations like this. But it does come with a whole set of additional things to worry about. So with AutoPlay, we have the ability to make it IP restricted with multi-factor authentication, which not to get into too much geek speak, but essentially the ability to have an extra layer of protection when they're working from home. So that's something that can be set up with AutoPlay just by contacting our support team.
Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. So people can use it at home. They can use it on their own devices. You guys can set control for that. That's safe. That's great. Now the question is, who should people be talking to? And I guess would the first step be just those people who were in the process of a sale at the time that lockdown began, and those that are making inquiries now? Is that kind of the first point of call you'd recommend people should be working on?
I think so. I mean, obviously, people understand that there's a bit of disruption moving into level 4, but you don't want to disappear from the face of the earth. So rescheduling or contacting those people you had active activity with is really important. With regards to your active leads in AutoPlay, we have the ability to filter by leads that you've got to do in the now, in the future, upcoming, and overdue installed. So obviously concentrating on anything that's in the now and coming up in the immediate future to make sure you've got a plan for those people who were expecting to hear from you or see you face to face, which will now no longer be possible in level 4. But then after that, there's a whole pool of overdue and installed leads at some dealerships. The really good ones really keep that up to date, but some dealers do fall behind from time to time, and this is a good opportunity to really mine those, catch up, tidy them up, or even close them as lost if those opportunities have gone.
Mm-hmm. And any thoughts around the tone or the language of communications to those people? I mean, should you just be sending a gentle follow-up email? Are we talking about calling them? How aggressive should salespeople be when it comes to dealing with people in level 4?
For me, it's about staying top of mind to a certain extent, building some rapport when you're not able to see them face to face, and really making sure that you're keying them up for when you are able to see them face to face, for them to come into the dealership and complete the transaction. So I think everyone would have been quite over all of the bulk mass communication that a lot of companies send during COVID shutdowns. So I think the
Yeah,
smaller and more
during level
personal.
4, we're taking care of your safety and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little patronizing. So, there's a place for that, but you've got to really exercise some restraint with that type of comms. I would really push them towards a one-on-one individual comms, and we have video tools, which, a call might be quite intrusive, whereas a video tool, filming yourself talking about the car or overlaid over the top of vehicle images, lets you have a nice sort of personal connection with the recipient without sort of intruding on the day-to-day life.
So you think now's a really good time to be looking at video? I mean, I know some brands have, during level 4 in the past have looked at doing video showrooms, that kind of thing. Renault was a prime example. But do you think, again, in level 4 now, that is a tool that should be picked up and run with, even if you're not necessarily at the car?
I think so. I mean, it's as close as you can get to having a conversation with someone. Yes, it's a one-way conversation, but it is a lot better than presenting information in screens and screens of text. You can actually build some rapport, get some personality across. So with AutoPlay, we take the static images of the vehicle. You can easily, using your phone or your laptop, do a voiceover and answer any questions the customer may have. Build a bit of rapport, let them get to know your personality, and then when the time comes for more phone contact or face to face, you've sort of built that little bridge with them.
Mm-hmm. How much should you be pushing for the sale? I mean, really, are we priming or are we selling at the moment? What do you think the line sits?
For me, we're priming. I know a lot of dealers and OEMs had some very successful lockdown periods where they were selling a lot of vehicles in advance, which is fantastic. But for me, particularly in level 4, it's about priming them for level 3 and level 2. It's a little more of a softer approach. You don't know what's going on in people's personal lives that may have changed their ability to purchase a vehicle. The longer the lockdown goes on, the more those things need to come into play.
Mm. If you've got multiple staff being very efficient in running through the leads on through AutoPlay or through whatever system you happen to be using, is there a risk that your staff could sell the same vehicle twice, or at least prime people on the same vehicle multiple times? I mean, how careful do we have to be that we don't do that?
It's probably one of the better problems to have, making 2 sales. But no, you'd hope that obviously the dealers are, the sales teams are communicating with each other. The sales manager obviously plays a big role in that, and the visibility throughout the system that they're using will also play a role in making sure that sort of thing doesn't happen. In AutoPlay, we'll update if there's multiple leads on one particular vehicle. It'll update if one is out on a test drive or sold.
Mm-hmm. To what level should the sales managers you mentioned be monitoring the lead management activity that the sales staff are doing? I mean, are there tools for that? And how hard should you be pushing your staff to achieve their normal throughput of lead management?
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, you're not having the lead volume coming in. So from Wednesday last week, I think we saw leads drop about 53%, and they've gone down to pretty low levels. And obviously, in dealership activity like test drives and appraisals are zero. So conceivably, this does allow a bit more time. For me, the more important thing would be setting yourself up in a position to move forward. So cleaning up any old historical leads, things you haven't had time for, where possible, rescheduling and building a bit of rapport, but not sort of pushing that sale agenda too hard.
Mm. Once you've gone through all that, and let's say this lockdown goes on a little bit longer, and you've tidied up those old leads, is there room to go back and start looking at vehicles and finance contracts that are expiring after rolling over 3 years or so forth, rolling out of service contracts and becoming a prime time to turn over? Is it a bit cheeky to start contacting people in that form at the moment?
I think the longer the lockdown goes on, the more those are things that dealers will need to consider. End of warranty, end of finance are obviously, key opportunities for a dealer. I think you've just got to exercise some care when communicating with people. As I say, you don't know what is going on with their life, so that the hard sell may not necessarily be the right approach.
Mm-hmm. Now, say we do go to level 3 soon, and that could be a possibility in the next couple of days for some parts of New Zealand, but very unlikely, I would suggest, for Auckland.
Yep.
Is there work that dealers could be doing within their systems now to start preparing for that? And what tools are there in software form that people can start preparing for that level 3 period? I know a lot was developed and a lot was moved online last time in regards to things like attendance registered, contactless transactions, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so last lockdown we did put a lot of effort into building a visitor book so you could track everyone coming in and out of the dealership. We had things like vehicle sanitization so you could track which cars were cleaned after appraisals and test drives, etc. Probably the biggest one that has stuck from that previous lockdowns last year is the ability to flick a customer any privacy or test drive T's and C's to sign on their own device. So particularly in a level 3, level 2 scenario where you contact distancing is appropriate, flicking out a test drive booking in advance, and then completing the test drive form or the appraisal form within AutoPlay as much as possible, flicking the customer an SMS to sign any signature test drive T's and C's or privacy policies, I think can help streamline that experience when they do come into the dealership. Because obviously, we have an obligation in the industry to make sure we're doing things responsibly, and contact distancing is obviously a big part of that.
Do you think that could be done as part of the lead management process now in anticipation of things opening up? So when the things open up, everything's signed, you can just go ahead, or do you think that needs to wait until there's a guaranteed time that people are allowed back on the yard to check out those cars?
I think personally it should wait because at the moment there's a lot of unsurety about what's actually happening when it will go to level 3. So I think until we get that announcement later on Monday, it should potentially wait until you have a bit more of an idea of when it will be appropriate to move forward with those types of activities.
Mm-hmm. Is there any work, if we talk specifically about the business owner or the business manager, is there anything they should be looking at the moment in regards to their actual lead management system, lead management structure, while they're sitting there, we're not being able to run around the dealership or do any work? Is there any long-term thinking or long-term thought they should be putting into their systems while they've got that time to sit down and do it?
Yeah, I mean, with AutoPlay, we don't work a huge amount with business managers, but a couple of things that we definitely see, needing some thought and some processes. The handover from the sales team to the business manager, and that seems to differ at every dealer, but making sure that they have enough information on the lead and what's happening with that to have an educated conversation. And then the end of finance is also a big opportunity that I don't think enough in the industry are taking advantage of.
Could you just explain the end of finance thing a little bit more?
So in particular, with a lot of your finance deals, there is information if you can get your hands on it on when that finance period is ending. Obviously, know what vehicle they had purchased, and there's a ripe opportunity there to upsell them into a new vehicle for X dollars more per week, which just gives you a reason to talk to the customer. And also creates a nice lead opportunity in particular as well. It then gives you an appraisal to look at, which when everyone's struggling for stock, that can be a good means of moving people on to new vehicles.
Absolutely. It's a thing. It's pretty much the way cars are sold in the US and the UK and other major markets, is that whole payment a week, and people don't even think about, they just roll over into a new payment at 3 years, but it's not really the way buyers have thought that way. And perhaps it's, we're going to keep on pushing that re-education.
I think part of the challenge is getting hold of the right data. Can be challenging. Lots of disparate systems in New Zealand, so sometimes accessing that data and piecing it together with all of your lead activity can be more challenging.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, look, that's some really great information from you there, Matt, today. If people want more information on AutoPlay or some of the stuff we've discussed today, what's the best place for them to go and look? I'm guessing it's the AutoPlay website.
Yep, www.autoplay.co.nz. If you work with AutoPlay already, you have any questions about anything we've talked about, flick an email to our support team, support@autoplay.co.nz, and one of the team will help you out.
And if people aren't already on AutoPlay, but they want to look at getting onto it now while lead management is becoming more important while we're locked down, are you guys able to sell while we're in the middle of this lockdown? I guess is the question.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. If you can contact myself, Matt, M-A-T-T, at AutoPlay, and I'll come back to you and answer any questions you might have.
Excellent. Look, thank you so much for joining us today, Matt Darby from AutoPlay. And please don't forget to, if you're watching on YouTube, like or subscribe to this video. Same on LinkedIn. Just give it a nice big tick below. A great way to spread this stuff around and help us make more of great educational content for the automotive industry. Don't forget also to keep up to date with AutoTalk.co.nz for the latest news and information during this lockdown. Thanks again for joining us, Matt.
Cheers, Richard. Have a good day.